In this video we'll show you how we can do some drilling, counterboring and chamfering, and also use the step and repeat function in CAM so that we don't have to create patterns of contours for each one of these parts. So I'm in the CAD system now, so I've imported this DXF file. So what we'll do now is we'll just zoom in on this bottom one here, and we'll create the patterns and contours that we need for this. So this is the drill hole, the next one out is the counterbore, and the next one out is the chamfer on that. So when we come to do the chamfering, we can either contour the counterbore with the chamfering tool, or we can just use a larger size drill to produce the chamfer. Okay, so let's create the contours and patterns that we need. So go into the NC mode. Now the datum point on this DXF file is the bottom left hand corner here, which I guess will be the outside of the material. If you do need to move the datum to a different location, then you can do, but if it's where it is okay, then you can just accept it. So let's first of all create the patterns of those holes. So we'll do the outside ones first. So this is the first point in the pattern, and this will be 1 inch deep, I guess. So this is the second point in the pattern, and it's the last point, so I hold down the shift key. So that's that one pattern. So a pattern is a series of XY locations that can be machined to the same depth, and more importantly with the same drill. So we need two patterns here, one pattern for the two smaller holes and another pattern for the single hole in the center. So because this is a single hole, I hold down the shift key when I'm creating the pattern, and this is now pattern number 1. Okay, so I've got two patterns there, the outside two holes and the one for the center hole. So if I just zoom in, let's create contours of the counterbore. I don't need to create a contour for this hole here because that's going to be created from the drill, so it's just the counterbore that I need to create a contour. So let's have that at 0.25 deep, and then we'll do the same thing here. And the same thing just here. You'll notice that when you select a circle, it asks you whereabouts you want to start machining. So 0 degrees is the 3 o'clock position, but you can set this to whatever angle you want to. Okay, so that's created the patterns that we need. If we needed to machine the outside, then we could just create that as a contour as well. And if this shape needs to be machined, that could also just be a contour. But in this one, we just want to concentrate on the drilling and counterboring. So if we save this drawing away, we'll call it EM1, and then we'll take that through into machining. Okay, so we check on our tool change position. We're working in inches here, so we need to set up where we want the machine to go to at the start and end of the cycle. The clearance plane, which is above any obstructions or clamps, and the feed change plane, where the tool will change from rapid into feed rate. So we'll define our tools. So the first one we'll have will be a center drill, and it will have 0.125 diameter, and its length can be about 1 inch. Okay, that looks like a nice little center drill. And then we'll have another drill, which will be 0.11, again the length of the drill and the cut depth 1. The lead on the drill is the distance between the drill tip and the shoulder, and that value will automatically be added onto the depths that we asked the drill to go to. So that's the first drill. Then we'll have another drill, which is 0.17 diameter, 2 inches, 1 inch. Sorry, that should be a drill. There we go. And then we'll have a milling tool for the counterbores, and that will just be probably a slot drill, 0.125 diameter, 2 inches and 1 inches. Okay, so that's the counterbore. So we can select those tools we want. So the first one we'll select will be the center drill, and we'll do a drilling operation. So we'll just do a standard drill, which will go maybe 40 thousandths deep, just to start off the drilling operations. And if we machine all patterns with the same group number, it'll do the pattern that I've indicated here, plus it'll do pattern number 1 as well. Okay, so that will just produce a very simple drilling operation to start the center drill. Okay, so now we can do a tool change and select the smaller of the two drills, and we'll have a peck drill, and we'll have that the depth going right the way through, and we'll have a number of pecks. So that does those two. Now we'll select the second of the drilling tools and ask it to drill that, and this time we'll drill the second pattern. Again, this will be a peck drill, and we'll have those. Okay, so if we just look at that, that's just doing the drilling operations on those holes. Okay, so if we just stop that. Okay, so let's go back into plan view. So now we can do the counter boring of those holes. So let's select the slot drill, and we'll use the go round command. We don't need to use area clearance because the size of the tool will clear that out in a single swipe through anyway. So one thing that we probably want to look at is the approach and runoff, so that we'll get a nice approach and a runoff movement onto there. So this time we'll use an arc approach, so it outputs a nice tangential arc, and the same with the runoff. Just make that 20 thousandths. I think that's all the things that we need there. We're going to offset the tool to the right because the contours were going clockwise. Okay, so as you can see there, that's put a nice little arc approach movement on. This is the center line of the tool. So now we can cut and paste that. So if we, copy and paste, and this time we'll just choose this contour, which is contour number 2, and run that, and then we can do the same thing, paste that, and choose the second contour there. Okay, so that's produced the machining for those. If we needed to machine the counterbore in a series of steps rather than to a single depth, then when we define the tool we can put in a maximum cut depth on that. So let's have 40 thousandths, and therefore we get a number of single cuts going down there at the required depths. Okay, so if we wanted to machine those chamfers with the chamfer tool, then we could just simply select a chamfer tool, set the diameter of the tool, set the length, set the cut depth, and set the taper, which is 90 degrees, and the lead, which is the height of the tool there. So that's the tool defined. If we wanted to take that tool, and then we can just go back into plan view and use the chamfer command on that tool, but this time make it quite a small depth. The approach and runoff, we don't need those. That's the depth we're going to go to. We're going to cut round to the right. Okay, so that's done that, and now we can copy and paste that once, twice. So we've now got 3 chamfer commands there, and we can simply change each one to the one that we want to use it on. Oopsie. Okay, yeah, set the depth to a sensible value, would be better, wouldn't it? That's more like it. Okay, so if we didn't want to use a chamfer tool and just use a drill, then we'd simply define a drill of the correct size and give it a depth so that the angle of the drill would just machine the size that we want the chamfer to be. But if you've got a chamfer tool, then it's easy to do it with the contouring operation. Okay, so that's okay as far as it goes. That's machining just a single instance of those. Now what we can do is we can wrap that up in a step and repeat sequence. So to do that, we use the repeat button here. So this is the start of the sequence. So in this case we're doing it on a grid, so we give it the number of repetitions that we want in X and the offset, and the same thing in Y, the total number and the offset. So what this needs is the start repeat sequence has to be at the beginning of the file, and then the end needs to be at the end. So what that does is it will repeat everything between that statement there and this one down here. So if we zoom out, okay, let's just do that. Okay, so that's created that sequence of events. Now the only thing we might like to do there is to step and repeat the individual functions around those options. So if you wanted to do that, then you would simply have a start and end sequence around each operation, and then it would do each operation and repeat it, rather than doing the whole thing and repeating it, because otherwise you get quite a few tool changes. But for each start repeat sequence there has to be a corresponding end. So in this case you would just simply move the end repeat sequence up to there, and that will only repeat that one operation. So now you just need to specify another repeat and start and end repeat sequence for the other operations, and therefore it would do first tool repeating everywhere, second tool, and so on. So that's how you do that.